Okay guys, happy Zeldering, hope you're having a good time so far. Here's the unboxing of the Australian version, and of course you have your game here, which is just almost nothing really. I think it's smaller than a DS cartridge. That's it. And your booklet, which also comes out as a piece of artwork, so you can have the snowy side, or you can go for full romantic adventure mode. And that's all it is really. There's nothing else in that box except the actual cartridge. Now this is important because with the Wii and the Wii U, a lot of people bought the Pro Controller because their hands were too big for the stock controller. That may not be as necessary with the Switch, because they've actually made this controller a bit bigger and they've changed things around. They've really got the best of both worlds here. We have there, of course, you know, your USB connectors and mini USB connectors for charging, etc. And that's all that's in that box. And we open this up. Now looky here. Okie doke. So that's an 8-inch hand. That's an 8-inch hand, and I could manage with this, okay? What they've done here is pretty clever. It's almost like an Xbox controller, but it's actually the best of PS4 and Xbox, because you've noticed that they've moved this, kept one joystick in the top left and moved this joystick down to the bottom right, which is where most people like it. And on the Pro Controller, of course, you get the crosspad, which you don't get on anything else, so that comes with this package. And there's also your home buttons and your charge buttons and your status, etc. But as I said, this is a 10-inch hand. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And notice that my finger has no trouble getting past the joystick to these buttons, which are bigger, by the way, and have a nice feel. So that's good. If you're a child or a little person, you probably won't need this, but if you're an adult male, you will. I'll show you why now. Now, these little guys, man, they're little. 4 inches. 4 inches. So the buttons are tiny, the joystick's tiny, and the joystick feels no real tactile feel there or feedback, you know. Now, you could probably use it like this, but when you join them together with the actual unit, which surprisingly looks smaller than it does in the commercials. Now, I've never done this before, so a good test will be to see how easy it is. Looks like it's no big deal, just slides on like that. You can play it either way. They have the X, Y, B, A buttons marked on this side, so you probably expect you to do this. But please notice that if I'm using this controller, then to reach these buttons with your thumb, which is what you always use, you have to reach over the joystick to get to the Y button and the B and the X. So you can't just slide it across, because look, you try and slide your hand across there and it hits the joystick. And to a lesser extent, the right hand trigger button. Right. So if you have big hands, you're gonna find that your finger keeps hitting that joystick unless you do this, which is hold it at a strange angle. So I'm sorry, it's built for kids, that's okay. Kids are going to be okay with it. But adults, these tiny controls with the joystick directly underneath the A buttons means that there's a conflict here. you're going to have to change the way you play, or you're going to have to buy the Pro controller. Okay, so that's enough said about that. What I should mention here is that there is a very nice little fold-out flap here so that you can sit your machine down and play it. And I see no reason why you can't do that. It's a little bit light, but I don't think adults will have a problem with it. And your trigger buttons here, 4 of them. So that's your actual screen. Now, of course, this is the Australian edition, so it comes with a complimentary koala bear. And here are your cables for charging and linking, your HDMI cables, and your power supply. These are just like blanks, which fill in the trigger spots on your sticks. It's only if you're handing one to each person that you're really going to need that. Now, if I can just figure out how to get these off, there must be a way. Okay, there's a little button at the bottom there. So far, I deliberately not looked at any instructions, because a good game, you should be able to figure it out. All right, now, bearing in mind what I've said about the controllers being small for big hands, when you get them into this mode, when you get them into the controller, it's not so bad, because you've got this little bit of a group here that allows you to angle it over and get your thumb across. But this is by no means the optimal position for playing the game. We like to hold the pad straight. We don't like to hold it bent, but that's probably what you'll have to do if you want to get over the thumb hitting the joystick button. So not as much of a problem when you place the controllers inside this cage. But as you can see, compared to the Pro controller, it is still a small thing. But better than being on its own, and better than being connected to this. So the only other thing in here is your safety straps, etc. Of course, that's to stop it flying out of your hand and braining your friend. I don't know what's in here. Okay, this will be the cradle. The whole thing appears smaller than it does on the ads. I don't know why, but there it is. I've pulled it out. I've more or less figured out how to get it all working without reading the instructions at all. There's your Nintendo Switch. There's your cradle, Pro controller, stock controller, your game screen, and just out of interest, there's a 3DS XL. So a lot of people thought that, you know, with the Switch coming out, that perhaps there would be no more DS models. But I don't agree with that. I don't need portability at all. I've simply brought this because it has a higher resolution output than the Wii U does. And I have a very good OLED TV, and so putting this signal through that is going to give a much crisper image than it would if I just bought the Wii U version of the game. That's talking about Zelda. So don't worry about the DSi, there'll always be a DSi. This is a portable, but it's never going to be used as one because I game at home. And it comes out of the box, it works, it doesn't have a lot of bloated printed material with it. It is there for you to understand. A gamer will understand this setup and have it working in no time. And by the way, the sound is fantastic.